Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Joy Taylor here with LeVar Arrington and Rick Bucher. Marcellus Wiley and Emmanuel Acho are off today, but we're going to keep it rolling, starting in Green Bay. Sponsored by the Popeyes Chicken Sandwich. Aaron Rodgers is back. The reigning MVP made his highly anticipated return to Green Bay today, but the Packers did make a number of concessions to get him back for at least one more season. According to a report, including if the team signs off on their willingness to trade him after next season, he will have the freedom to decide where he wants to play in 2022. So, LeVar, are you surprised Rodgers and the Packers came to an agreement?
No, I'm not, Joy, and you know I'm not. I said this yesterday on the show. Rick, you heard it as well. I said he will be in camp. And look where he is.
I heard
in
things.
Camp. He strolled up
yesterday.
He strolled up. You know, it wasn't a last dance handshake type of deal. He strolled up casual, calm, cool, collected. You know why? Because there is not a worthy adversary waiting in the building in which he enters. Maybe y'all didn't hear me say that, so I'll say it again. He strolled up cool, calm, collected, because there is not a legit adversary awaiting him behind those doors. So this is one of those things, Joy, Rick, where Aaron Rodgers got his way, and Aaron Rodgers playing the game the way he's playing the game. I call it being on your axis. When I play my chess, I say I'm on my axis. I'm balanced. Aaron Rodgers is on his axis. He's balanced. And let me tell you something. He just got his one-year deal, his way, and he will continue to get his way. That's how this all is going to end.
I agree he's going to continue to get his way. By the way, let's talk about chess, LeVar. We might have to play.
Let's go.
You know, I was a chess champion growing up. I used to go to chess classes.
I would enjoy the match.
I'm a little rusty, so I'm sure you'll beat me. But
No worries.
I agree he's playing chess, and he won this game as far as being in Green Bay, getting what he wanted, and what we talked about yesterday, what I really feel like this is all about is control. Aaron Rodgers has made a lot of money in his career. He has all the respect he could ever need. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, league MVP, Super Bowl champion. So he has all of that. What he really wants is control over his career. I think what happened in Tampa Bay with Tom Brady has set a ripple effect throughout the league, and it will continue to affect star quarterbacks moving forward. Tom Brady got control. He got to have say over some of the personnel decisions. He is a part of that organization. They treated him with respect. They gave him whatever he needed. And Russell Wilson obviously saw that, had his own situation this offseason, and Aaron Rodgers the same. When you reach a certain level in life, you want the respect that your peers are getting. Aaron Rodgers felt like he wasn't getting that for whatever reason. I still think that there's beef within the organization with him in the front office. But for this year, this is the best situation for everybody. Green Bay needed Aaron Rodgers back. Jordan Love is clearly not ready, or they would never have conceded. They want to run it back one more year. I do think this is the last dance for Aaron Rodgers, as far as this is going to be his last year in Green Bay. This has always felt like a divorce is imminent, right? But the kid he's got one more year of high school. Let's keep it together. Let's make sure he remembers his childhood fondly. And when he gets off to college, we out of here. That's what it's always felt like. They came to an agreement that makes sense for all parties. We will ride off into the sunset together. I don't necessarily know this will work out as far as the season goes with all the noise. But for now, you've got Aaron Rodgers in camp, and it's the best situation for everyone.
No, I'm not surprised. No, I'm not surprised that they came to an agreement because both sides can claim victory. Although, Joy, you are making me nervous by bringing up the whole he's out of here a year from now. Not because I don't believe it. I do. But because LeVar has suddenly got that, oh, you don't understand the chess moves that he's making. He actually wants to stay there for another 10 years. That's why he had another year taken off of his contract. I thought about it all night. I didn't get any sleep. You guys saw the movie A Beautiful Mind with Russell Crowe, right? He's the tortured mathematician, and he's in his garage with the yarn and trying to make sense of it. That was me with your argument yesterday, LeVar, trying to figure out what the hell you were saying about what Aaron Rodgers accomplished. The fact of the matter is the Packers did him a favor because as I look at it, he gets to claim victory, but it's very murky in terms of how is he actually going to get out of this. Everybody is saying, Adam Schefter is reporting, that he has the wherewithal to go where he wants to next year, except that he's still under contract. So I believe that the Packers gave Aaron an avenue by agreeing to take the last year off of his deal and not pushing back on this idea that he's going to have the say in terms of where he goes next year, that they gave him a chance to return and gave him a face-saving chance to return. But ultimately, I don't see how much Aaron Rodgers has won in this deal.
Oh, my gosh.
Concretely. He gets to come back. He gets to play on a team that can still vie for a Super Bowl.
I'm going to help you.
He gets to I look at it and say he didn't have any better options and realized it. And the Packers, because it behooves them to have him back and not have any controversy through training camp or have him sit out this year, they gave him the avenue to come back and say, okay, let's do it 1 more year, 2 more years. We'll see at the end of the season how long he actually stays in Green Bay.
Let me put you up on a little bit of game, Rick, since you were trying to figure it out like a beautiful mind, all right? This right here,
please.
This right here
Fix
is called,
my yarn.
This is loading the deck. This is sliding that ace up the sleeve. He is testing what he's doing. This is a pugilistic fight taking place with Aaron Rodgers. He's testing out that
How
jab.
many game analogies are you going to give me?
He's testing.
Either give me
he's
chess,
testing
give me
that
cards, or
jab.
give me boxing.
Rick Bucher. Listen what I'm trying to tell you right now. By him getting a contract that allows for him to not only dictate if he's traded or not, but where he would like to go in doing the trade, all he is doing is testing his power and his maneuverability. If he has a great year, you know what's going to happen? Bukes, they can't get rid of him. Who is going to be the one that pulls the trigger on getting rid of Aaron Rodgers after this season if he has another year even comparable to the one he just had? Hold on. Second point.
You just said that he has...
Second
you just
point.
said he has the wherewithal to go where he wants to.
Second point.
Does he or does he not have the wherewithal to go where he wants to next year? This is why the deck is
stacked, Rick. This is why the deck is stacked. If he doesn't have a good year and it's justifiable to get rid of him, and you can actually do it void of any type of pressure or backlash from the shareholders, the stockholders, the fans, the players, of which he, to me, owns the loyalties to, then now he has the ability to pick and choose what the best situation is. And if not, he still has maneuverability to have the conversation with Green Bay. He puts himself in a win-win situation, whether he plays well or whether he doesn't play well. That's what this is all about, Joy.
He's not going to suck. It's Aaron Rodgers.
I agree, Joy. He's not.
Even if he doesn't have an MVP season, he's
But now there's no pressure,
awesome.
Joy. But now there's no pressure.
No, I agree. So let's just remove the injury conversation, all right? Because obviously no one can control that and no one's anticipating that. If he's out there and he's playing, we know Aaron Rodgers is going to be at the best great, if not an MVP level like he was last year. So as far as the loyalties go with the fan base, I don't know that the entire fan base is completely loyal to Aaron Rodgers at this point.
No, it's not.
I do think there's some split. That there are, Packers faithful who are going to side with the organization over the player. Once Aaron Rodgers gets out there and is awesome again, there'll be less of them. But at the end of this season, at least now the table is set for if Aaron Rodgers leaves, fans have already been loosened up to the idea of him not being there this year. So the Packers won't look horrible if Aaron Rodgers asks to leave. Aaron Rodgers won't look terrible because they've already realized that this is probably an inevitable outcome. So I don't think everybody has to win. Like, there can be a compromise in this situation, and I think that's what they reached. And I'm not surprised they did, because they didn't want to go into training camp having this lingering over the team. There's enough that you have to go through with rookies trying to put together your game plan for the seasons to be constantly talking about Aaron Rodgers not being there and what's going on with him. And that's what would happen. So they needed to have him there. Aaron Rodgers needed to be there if he was going to play this season, which I always felt like he was going to because there's too much money to leave on the table. But now, at the end of it, I mean, they essentially just negotiated a prenup halfway through their marriage. Like, they figured it out. Now we don't have to argue at the end of the season. Now it doesn't have to be ugly. Everyone's aware that this is probably his last season with the Packers. And to LeVar's point, if he does play great and they do sort things out in the front office, he can very easily stay, and that will work too.
Indeed.
If Jordan Love doesn't work out this season, they can still move forward. So it's the best case scenario again for everyone.
Come on, head shaker. What you got?
No, I'm not saying it's not the best case scenario. It is, in terms of they both get to come back and say, hey, I got what I wanted. Aaron can give us the impression that he got what he wanted. But can I have that full screen back about the concessions
put that full screen back
that we
up.
just had up with Joy? That number, look at that second item there. Rodgers' situation will be reviewed at the end of the season. What the hell does that mean?
That means
doesn't
Aaron
mean
Rodgers is
he
in
gets
control.
The option.
I'm trying to help
Joy,
you out here,
no,
Rick.
it doesn't.
I don't know what that means as far as contract
There was a
language
verb.
goes. I don't know.
It
I don't know
means
how you put that in
Aaron
a contract.
Rodgers
Exactly.
is in control.
But I think what it means is they obviously weren't having good conversations at the end of the season, through the offseason. And so whatever they put in this wording means that we're all going to have to come to the table at the end of the season, whether we win a Super Bowl or whether we miss the playoffs. We're going to come together and we're going to have a real conversation about what's going to happen moving forward, regardless of everyone's little feelings. And I think that's
Their little
great.
feelings.
I think that's a win for Aaron Rodgers because clearly the communication is not good. And I also feel like the Devontae Adams situation this last week put a lot of pressure on Green Bay. That there is some significant support for Aaron Rodgers in the building with our other stars, and we better sort this thing out if we're going to have a chance this year.
Aaron Rodgers
so the
is
second,
the one
the
with
second
big feelings,
Devontae
Rick.
Adams signs, that leverage goes away.
But he hasn't
Right?
yet.
There is
I mean,
no
if this is
leverage.
Green Bay's play in order to get Devontae Adams signed up.
No. Aaron Rodgers has already solidified having the leverage. The year-end review, I get to choose if I go out in free agency. He has all of the leverage, Rick.
Says who?
Says anybody who looks at the way this contract reads. That is what he's done. And now he has placed Green Bay.
You or I have seen that contract.
He has placed Green Bay in a very, very compromising position. And the reason being is when you take a quarterback as high as you've taken Jordan Love, Joy, you'll be up on this one. Maybe not Rick so much because he's into basketball. But don't you have to play your quarterback by now if you spent a draft pick to move up and play him?
They are interestingly losing the time that they don't have to pay Jordan Love to develop him. Yes, it is not an ideal situation when that seems to be the blueprint in the NFL now. If you take a quarterback high, you get him out there early, you get to sign the other free agents and spend the money elsewhere.
And then you set up to pay your franchise quarterback by the time they get to the third year, fourth year, end of their contract.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers has totally disrupted what Green Bay is trying to do with Jordan Love, and he knows it, and they can't stop it. That's leverage.
So disrupting what Green Bay planned to do with Jordan Love doesn't change the fact that Aaron Rodgers is no more free to go wherever he wants next year based on what we know than he was before. He's just got one less year. And Joy, you used the operative word. LeVar, you need to listen to Joy because
I listen.
She used a very important
word. She got on
word.
Green Bay Yellow today. I'm listening to what she got to say. Go ahead.
She said at the end of the season, Aaron Rodgers can ask to be traded.
Correct.
He can't just voluntarily, unilaterally say, I'm out, see ya. He can ask to be traded.
Well,
so
the last year in his current
deal
is voided with no tags allowed in his future. So they would have to renegotiate a new contract in order for him to stay.
Not only that.
So he would actually be, while he would still be under contract, it would not work. Like, this is essentially saying at the end of this year, we're going to come to the table, all of us together, and figure out what the move is going forward.
It's essentially saying...
he's not going to continue to play with no guaranteed money.
It's essentially saying...
Fair.
It's not right for you to put us in a position where we have to put language in the media that says you are clearly bullying us right now. That is not acceptable, Rick Bucher. It's
That
not.
did not look like a
and
bully
that's why
walking
he
into
has
training
to
camp
ask.
with the
It is the
flip-flops
appearance.
and the
Let's make sure we appear
surfer
to
dude look.
stay face on both sides. Rick.
Yes, I agree with that, LeVar. I think everyone, Aaron Rodgers too, who was kind of souring the fan base a little bit, I think everyone in this situation saved face. Aaron Rodgers is at camp. He's going to play this season. He has now a new agreement, so he feels comfortable. Devontae Adams has come back to the table. And Green Bay looks like, hey, look, we got Aaron Rodgers back. We're ready to go for the season. Jordan Love, we're going to keep developing him, and we'll worry about this after the season. We're all on the same page.
Hey, Rick, you'll get your chance next segment. Russell Wilson. He has his sights set on the Super Bowl, but we'll tell you if there is a ceiling for his Seahawks. Next on Speak for Yourself. Gotcha, Rick. Gotcha. The Seahawks. Their offseason was filled with drama surrounding Russell Wilson. But now, with training camp underway, they have their sights set on the Super Bowl. Russ said, and quote, "I don't think there is a ceiling," and added that his Seahawks want to be celebrating at the end of the season. So, Joy, is there a ceiling for Russell Wilson's Seahawks?
No, I don't think there is. I actually love the Seahawks this year. We remember there was a little drama with Russell Wilson. A little bit. It was seeming like it was going to be a long offseason for Seattle. But unlike Green Bay, Seattle went to their star quarterback, sat down with him.
You called this, by the way. On a show prior to this, you called this on the show, and I just give you your props for that. You did say, work it out with Dangerous Russ.
Sometimes they listen. What can I say? I have intuition. They did. They listened to him. He wanted some help on the offensive line. They got him that, upgraded at tight ends. They made a lot of great moves this offseason, including getting Russell Wilson back in the fold, listening to him. They made some changes in the coaching staff. I think in this division, which I think we all agree is the toughest division in all of the NFL, they're in the best position. I know everyone loves the Rams this year, but they just lost Cam Akers and traded Malcolm Brown away, so they don't have a running game. Matthew Stafford, who everyone has high expectations for, just showed up. Now, I still think they're going to be competitive, but they're not in the same stable situation that the Seahawks are in. The 49ers basically depends on Jimmy G being healthy. They're not going to have the amount of injuries that they had last year, obviously, but Jimmy G is not a reliable option at quarterback. And if they bring in Trey Lance, he hasn't played a game in 2 years. So while I do think that Trey Lance has a very high ceiling, I don't think we're going to see that from him this year. And while I really like the Cardinals as well, I don't know if they're in a position to win this division. So I think they're going to win, the Seahawks, the best division in the NFL, and they're in a great position moving forward. They have a Super Bowl winning coach. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I love what the Seahawks are coming into the season with, and I think they have a great chance to win the Super Bowl this year.
The funniest part about this is that the Seattle Seahawks, who started the offseason probably having the most controversy, seems to have the least controversy right now. They seem to be kumbaya, where there are guys from every other team in their division, certainly, that want out or are in a potentially controversial situation. But all that said, yes, there is a ceiling. I love the sky's the limit attitude. Certainly Russell Wilson should have that. But let's be real. They are in arguably the toughest division in the NFC. And they overachieved, in my mind, by winning the division last year. Could they win the division again this year? Yeah, possibly. They are improved, but so is everybody else in the division. So they're not going to have the best record in the NFC. I think it's safe to say that. Because of Green Bay, because of Tampa, and the divisions that they're in, I would fully expect that one of those two is going to have a better record. So that means they're going to have to play on the first weekend. And while I think that they could do a little bit better than they did last year, I don't see them getting to the NFC Championship. So ultimately, it's, can they win the division? Okay. Can they win a playoff game? Yeah, potentially. But all the improvement that they made is not to the point where I look at them as being the best team in the NFC. And they're still going to have to prove, with everybody improving in the NFC West, that they're still the class of their division.
Okay, let me bring y'all back down to earth real quick with what's about to go on here. I do believe that the Seahawks have a very high ceiling. In fact, good enough to win their division and good enough to make an appearance into the Super Bowl and possibly win it, with a few caveats. All right. First one being Russell Wilson has to understand he does have a ceiling. Let me read something to you. Week 10 through the end of the 2020 season, Wilson ranked in the bottom half of the league in what, Joy Taylor? Yards per game, passing, 25th, if you want to know the number, and a passer rating that was 18th. That is very poor. That means the Bears scored more points per game than the Seahawks in that span. Phillip Rivers, Andy Dalton, Kirk Cousins had more TD passes in that span. Do you want me to keep going? I'm not going to keep going because I have a list I could keep going with. The point is that, Russ, you have a whole lot to say. You've said a whole lot. But what you have to say that's going to make sense to someone like me, who's going to read between the lines, is that you're going to do what it takes for this team to not have a ceiling in terms of winning. Meaning, as we heard you say so well, Joy, yes, the Rams are looking for a running attack. You know who else needs to use their running attack? The Seahawks. You have to find and keep the balance of what's taking place in your passing game. When they had the balance, this team did well. It performed well. When Russ was fully given all of the tools to go into the kitchen, cook it up, the ingredients, all that good stuff, he burnt it. It didn't come out well. It looked like it should have been casserole, but it was supposed to be something totally different. Did taste like casserole. You know how that works. They tried to tell you something. They tried to tell you it was something that it wasn't. That's what Russ did in the second half, the last half of this season this past year. Russ has to understand that much like everybody else on the team, no one is bigger than the team. And as long as he understands that some of the things that has happened, he needs to be accountable for. Because the first time there's some adversity this year, it's like, oh, there's no questions. It's a kumbaya moment for the Seattle Seahawks. That's great. But lose a game. Have a couple interception games or multiple interception game, or you're the reason why they lost. What's going to happen? Oh, you remember all those things Russ was saying about who he would go play for if he were to be traded? You remember how things were put out there about how Pete Carroll doesn't have to answer to anybody in the organization? Oh, you best believe it's on speed, copy, paste, print. All right? Pressure bust pipes. Russ, you need to know that the pressure does. And know your ceiling. That's all I'm saying, Joy.
You took that personally, LeVar, because LeVar be in the kitchen.
I do be in the kitchen.
So he's like, if I'm going to cook, I'm going to do it correctly.
That's right.
And I do agree with you to a certain degree that let Russ cook was definitely a thing last year. They were not letting him get out there and do his creative things. And sometimes he does bail on plays a little too early. I do think that has a little bit to do with the fact that he's on pace to be sacked more than any quarterback in the history of the NFL. I'd probably bail a few times myself if I was running around like that. And he also has the ability to make those plays. And when you have a certain skill, you tend to rely on it. It's why we criticize running quarterbacks a lot, because they bail on plays too soon and they just want to run when they should have a more balanced offense. I do think they will be more balanced this year. But one thing I do not worry about with Russell Wilson and the Seahawks is facing adversity. Russell Wilson is a great leader. He is loved in the locker room. He's loved by that city. He's a very measured player. He's not one of those guys that gets super high or super low. He's a veteran. He is experienced. He's a winner. So things falling apart in Seattle once, you have a couple losses or a few bad games is not something I'm concerned about. They are a team that can face and get through adversity, especially after the way that they handled this offseason. I think that's the best example of that. We've seen what just happened with the Packers all season long. It was a disaster. We've seen example after example of organizations falling apart and falling out with their stars and things going badly. Hello, how did Tom Brady get to Tampa? So I think that the way that they handled it with Russell Wilson, I think the way that Russell Wilson has handled it since, saying, listen, water under the bridge, there is no problems. We're all on the same page. We had a little moment. We talked through it like adults. We came to the table. We made some amendments. We figured it out. And now we're ready to go out there and win. I think that shows true leadership as well, because he didn't let his feelings and emotions carry on throughout the whole offseason and become the story of the team. So them facing adversity with Russell Wilson at the top is not a concern for me.
If somebody bring beef your way and they tell you, you know what, Joy, I didn't mean to bring the beef this way. I didn't mean to put you out on Front Street. I didn't mean to have the media talking about you the way that they are. We cool now. Everything's cool. It's all good. You ain't keeping that in the back of your mind for when something don't go the way it's supposed to go?
I'm not Russell Wilson.
No, I'm just saying Joy Taylor.
I don't make it a secret at all.
You gonna hold that beef?
Oh, beef. Of course I do.
You gonna hold that beef?
I'm a very petty person.
Yeah.
Everybody is not me.
And somebody in Seattle is a petty person too. That's all I'm trying to say.
So what if he is a petty person?
Okay.
So what if Russell Wilson does hold on to it a little bit?
No. The coach, the head coach.
Pete Carroll?
The head coach. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Pete Carroll was about to be out the NFL before Russell Wilson got there. So he better keep that in mind when he wants to get petty about what's going on. There's enough credit to go around.
Understood. And
I don't know how to
agree with
respond
you
to
when it
that.
comes to
I'm
Russell
wrong?
Wilson
You're
and his
not wrong.
ability to Russell Wilson's ability to deal with adversity. His ability to deal with adversity last year was good enough to win the division. It was not good enough to win a playoff game. So I look at what they have and what he's capable of, and I still believe that there's a ceiling. And LeVar, this is the part I really don't get.
Okay.
So the caveat for you in the Seattle Seahawks going and winning the Super Bowl is that Russell Wilson has to have a more conservative view of himself and where things are
realistic.
in order to use the collective.
Let's use realistic
Right?
versus conservative. Conservative, I don't like conservative.
Okay,
I mean,
fine.
conservative is I'm
better.
conservative, but
realistic,
more realistic.
a realistic,
right. Yes,
a realistic view
Yes.
of where they are
That's
and
correct.
what division they're in
That's
and
correct.
what they face
All of
and
it.
how much they have around them.
and what you've said, all of it.
And I just heard Russell Wilson say, there is no ceiling. We could win it all.
For the team.
That's not a realistic view going into the season
I
when you
disagree.
couldn't even win a playoff game last year, no matter
disagree.
how much you've improved. So
I disagree
your
with that.
caveat, Russell Wilson's already indicating that your caveat is not in line with where Russell Wilson's mind is right now.
I mean, I see where you went with that, and that was very creative and well done, by the way. But I'll say I disagree with that in the sense that when I say Russell Wilson has to be more realistic, I just gave you the stat line of when he started doing more than what was asked of him. And once that happened,
Right.
they weren't able to recover. They went down that slope. They slipped down it, and you ain't stopping and going back up. You're just going to continue to slide. And I
LeVar,
think that's what happened.
Who won the battle this summer? Who would you say won the battle between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll?
Honestly, if I'm being honest, I really believe that Russell Wilson either wanted them to let him have control over personnel picks, some of them, or go to a team that was going to let him do it. And I don't think he necessarily got that in Seattle. So I'd have to say Carroll and the Seahawks won that situation in the head-to-head, but did something that made Russell Wilson feel comfortable and confident enough to want to come back and make everything right as a Seahawk.
Yeah, I think them having their future Hall of Fame quarterback there and happy is a win for Seattle.
There you go.
Coming up, Dak is back. But should the Cowboys proceed with caution? We'll tell you how much he should play in the preseason next on Speak for Yourself.
Dak Prescott is expected to return from his season-ending ankle injury last season, but he does not want to wait till the regular season for reps, saying he definitely wants to play in the preseason. The Cowboys will get started on August 5th in the Hall of Fame game against the Steelers right here on Fox. And we are joined by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings. But LeVar, let me start with you. How much should Dak play in the preseason?
I think he should play the amount of time that has been properly put in plan by the medical staff. Not being like with situations like these, like that was a gruesome injury. And with situations like these, you never want to act as though, my knowledge is something that I should throw out there and be like, this is how many quarters or this is how many plays he should play. I don't know. I'm not close enough to the situation. I will say, however, I have had injuries myself that required a medical plan and approach to it. And I think that that's what we have to look at in this situation with Dak, is the medical staff has looked at how far he's come along progress-wise, how he's moving, the level of pain tolerance while he's moving, the level of pain that he's having after post workouts. And so once you get to the point of whatever that established baseline of what his health was before the injury, the closer he gets to that, and in some cases when you get injured, you actually create a different baseline that's actually maybe even possibly better than the first baseline you had before the injury. But whatever that is, the medical staff has great understanding of it. We can look at what his contract number is. There's a whole lot of like millions upon millions of reasons for the medical staff to have that information and have it laid out the right way. But there is a real balancing act that you have to find. You don't want to play him too little because you want to prepare him for the season in this short amount of time, and you don't want to overplay him at well. It's finding that in between, that balance right there in the middle, the sweet spot.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. This is totally on Dak, though. For me, it's about, and having had this experience being injured and wanting to get back on the field for an extensive period of time and missing that time, you want to be on the field. And so what the training staff is going to be telling Dak, as well as the coaching staff, is, okay, communicate. Mm-hmm. Like, we're going to be smart, obviously. That is primary precedent, that takes precedent. But we're going to trust you to communicate to us how you're feeling, what you're feeling, because one thing we know, LeVar, you can't emulate actual game play. Yeah. I don't care how much training camp, how much practicing you do. They're never going to allow defenders to be hanging on Dak, to bring him to the ground, to even get close enough to where he's in harm's way at the quarterback position during practice, where in the game, Dak Prescott is going to want to feel that. Mm-hmm. He's going to want to experience, okay, can I take a hit? What does it feel like to take a hit? Even though psychologically he knows he can take a hit, but you just want to feel it. It's like going out when the game starts, you want to get that first hit. You want to feel that contact. That's going to be Dak Prescott. They're going to be smart. It's going to be on Dak to communicate how much and what he feels. And then they're going to limit those reps to make sure that he's sharp. But more importantly, physically, he's getting all the reps needed to build his confidence going into the regular season.
True.
Well, assuming he is 100% ready to go, I don't see why he wouldn't play whatever normal amount he would play if he wasn't coming off of an injury. We're assuming that this is going according to plan. He's been medically cleared. He's 100%. Then he should be out there getting a little bit of callus like he normally would. I'm not a huge fan of the preseason, especially for established veteran players. I do think it obviously has value for rookie players and guys who are trying to make the team. And in situations like this where you want to, as you guys were just saying, get real game speed reps so you can build up those calluses for the regular season. He doesn't need to go out there to, like, get in shape, but he does need to feel the pressure of the defense. He does need to get hit once and get that confidence back. All of us have had major injuries. I've torn my ACL. Obviously, I wasn't a professional athlete when I was doing it, but there is something to testing that body part again and putting your full weight into it and doing those cuts and things that you were doing before you had the injury to get the confidence back. We all know coming back from injuries has a huge mental side of it as well. As you were saying, you have to talk to and communicate with the medical staff and the coaches. Don't lie, don't hide things. Be very honest and open about how you're feeling so that you can get back to 100%. But I don't have any problem with him playing in preseason games. That's sort of what the conversation is. Like, why would you play Dak Prescott, who's coming off of an injury, who is your franchise quarterback in a preseason game? Well, he is saying, I want to feel that pressure. I want to test this. I want to feel the confidence and the callus of getting hit by the defense who's coming at me full speed, actually trying to hit me, so that when the regular season starts, I'm fully confident that this ankle is ready to go.
How much should Dak play in the preseason? As much as he needs to feel comfortable about playing at the beginning of the regular season. In particular, because if you look at where they're starting, they're going up against the defending Super Bowl champions and then the Chargers, both of those games on the road. They're going to come out and they're playing against great competition right from the start. And this is what bothers me about this conversation. And I am shocked, LeVar Arrington, that you are on the side of the proponents of the sports medicine and sports science and the personal trainers and Everybody who's got a medical degree decides how much a guy should play. We are now in the mindset, and it's not just football, it is across all sports.
I see where you're going.
This idea that not playing is somehow better preparation than playing. And as has been mentioned, and thank you so much, Greg, for joining the show and bringing some rational thinking to this. Getting up to game speed, getting used to all of the movement that you have to prepare for in a live action game. There's no way to replicate that unless you're in live action. And I dare say that you run just as much a risk of getting injured or re-injured when you're not used to playing at game speed and then suddenly have to. All of your body mechanics and your reaction time is off, which creates the possibility of getting injured. So, LeVar, I'm not going first to the sports medicine people. I'm not going to them and having them say, okay, he's allowed to take 20, 25 snaps. I want Dak to be as confident as possible going into that first game that my body is working the way I need it to work, and I know how to make it maneuver in real life situations. And if it takes 35, 40, 45 snaps to get there, I'm going to trust that Dak is going to be smart because he just missed an entire year with an injury. I am certain that he does not want to replicate that.
I remember one year we were playing the Philadelphia Eagles. It was in FedEx, in fact. I made a play, it was a big hit, and I heard an echo like you wouldn't believe. It was like boom, 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 boom. You get the picture. I go onto the sideline. I'm sitting on the sideline. They're like, LA, you good? You good? Da-da-da, this, that. And I'm good. All right, this, that, all right. 2 minutes later, there's 12 men on the field. And you can see number 56 really, really confused as to where to line up on the field. He was not supposed to be on the field. In fact, he was truly concussed. And they had to come get me. And it costed us a timeout. And so I was taken into the back room, and needless to say, I did not play the rest of the game. Asked why I was on the field, because we were on defense. I went out there to go play because we were on defense. Did not know that I had been substituted for. That's why they had the whole saying of take his helmet. You got to take his helmet. If I can't go out there with my helmet on, no, even if I think I'm supposed to be out there, I can't get out there on the field. I'm going to try to find somebody else's helmet. The point of the story is Rick Bucher.
Thank you.
Greg Jennings, with all of y'all's sensibility, let's take it out of the trainer's hands. Let Dak go out there and play one too many reps and get injured. Injure something else. Might not even be the same body part. Let him injure something else. You know who's going to be on the hook for that? Those very people you're talking about. Those parameters that are put in place by the medical staff is because that is their expertise of what they do. Otherwise, why do you even need them? Why do you pay to have a room in your facility that's strictly sports medicine and rehab oriented? You know why? Because the better off you are, the quicker you are, the better the product is going to be and the performance is going to be from the player. It has to be in their hands. It has to be planned out and structured, even if the player himself, which is the point of my story, believes that they should still be in the game playing. Now, that might sound egregious. Oh, you had a concussion, though. That man's ankle was much worse than me being concussed. So at the end of the day, you do have to have a plan in place. That supersedes the player's opinion.
If the sports medicine people were that smart, they would have subbed you out the play before you got concussed. How do you know? How do you know what's going to happen on the 26th play versus the 25th play?
No, you wanted them what-ifers.
No,
you wanted them what-ifers.
Happen. No, this idea that you can kind of mothball or bubble wrap a guy and avoid injury. Yes, you take advantage if he's fatigued, if he's showing wear and tear, like whatever it might be. But again, who knows his body better than Dak Prescott? This idea that the sports medicine people can tell me that if I only play 25 snaps versus 30 snaps, that it's still a percentage deal in terms of me avoiding injury. So I just, look, take the advice from get the input from the sports medicine people.
And then get out of the way.
This is what we suggest.
Give me my helmet.
But it's a suggestion. Dak Prescott ultimately needs to decide, this is what I need to do to get ready, because his confidence to play is going to determine how well he plays, and I believe how well he's able to avoid injury.
Go ahead and validate that PSA, Greg.
No. I agree with you, LeVar. I do. I agree with a lot of what you're saying because, okay, so Mike McCarthy, head coach, this is what he's going to do. This has always been his process unless he's altered it slightly. He's going to talk to the training staff because he knows exactly what they're going to say. Okay, this is what he's been doing. This is how many reps he's been getting. This is what we would suggest. Then he's going to go and sit down with Dak and say, what do you need? Tell me what you need. Joy said the phrase, he has to be open and honest. There has to be full transparency to Mike McCarthy, to his play caller, to his staff, so they all know everything that's being communicated from the training staff, what Dak is saying, and then you make a decision as a head coach and say, okay, Dak, this is what we're going to do. We're going to meet you right here. We're going to give you what you need, and then we're capping it at this point, whatever amount of plays that is. And so to Joy's point, whatever they go into this game with, let them play. If he feels like he wants to do that, it has to be more on Dak than anyone. But to protect a player, LeVar, like you're talking about, you have to have a ceiling of, we're not allowing you to play past 25 plays or whatever that number is, so that they can be protected, because players don't protect themselves. Everyone around them has to protect them.
Call me an idealist, but I do think that they can reach some sort of balance in the situation. Dak has to be honest. You have to listen to the medical people. And Mike McCarthy has to communicate with everyone to come up with a plan. I do think Dak should play. If he's 100%, he should absolutely play. I do think you need to put a limit on how much he plays, because sometimes players need to be protected from themselves, like Greg said and like LeVar said, who are both players, so they know that you're going to try and get out there no matter what. But I will say, I think Dak is a very self-aware person. So while he wants to go out there and get the calluses and get the game reps and test the ankle and make sure he's good to go, he also has nothing to prove. He has his contract. He's got his money. He is the future of the Cowboys, and he knows that, and he knows what it's like to come off of a devastating injury. So I don't think that Dak's going to go out there and try and be a hero. I think he just wants to test his body and feel confident going into the season.
Joy, he hasn't played one play under that new contract. He has everything to prove.
Here we go. Okay.
And speaking of everything to prove, coming up, we'll tell you who's to blame for Team USA's opening loss to France.
I can't wait.
Next on Speak for Yourself.
Team USA lost their opener against France, snapping their 25-game winning streak. A lot of eyes were on Greg Popovich after the loss, but he said, quote, "When you lose a game, you're not surprised, you're disappointed. I don't understand the word surprise." There's no surprise parties for Greg Popovich. So, Rick, who do you blame for USA basketball's loss to France?
I blame Kevin Durant, and I blame Damian Lillard, and I blame, if I'm going to pick a third, I'll go with Bam Adebayo. 78 seconds left. The Team USA is up by 1. And then we had these series of events by the two best players, arguably, on Team USA. We had Lillard turn the ball over, unforced error. We had KD get beaten to a loose ball, leading to a Team France three-pointer that put them ahead. We had KD miss an open three. We had Bam Adebayo miss a layup. We had Zach LaVine miss an open J. We had KD miss another open three. We had Drew Holiday, miss an open three. We had Damian Lillard commit another turnover and then an unsportsmanlike foul that ended up giving Team France 2 free throws and the ball. And then we had KD fouling out against Rudy Gobert. Team USA missed their last 9 shots. Damian Lillard was 3 for 10. Kevin Durant was 3 for 12. Like, this is supposed to be what they do. 78 seconds left. They have the game in hand. They have a lead. and missed their last 9 shots. Kevin Durant and Damian Lillard are supposed to be 2 of the best shooters, scorers, leaders in the game, and they did not deliver down the stretch. So ultimately, they're the ones that cost Team USA the game against France.
While I will agree with you, I'm the son of a sergeant that fought for our country, and just take 2 seconds here to just bear with me. If you end up in the line of fire in a battle, and you have petty officers, if you have infantry, and they miss shots, if they don't place the landmines where they need to place them correctly, if something goes wrong, tactically speaking, out there in the battle zone, the blame does not fall on infantry. It does not fall on the subordinates that are executing the plan out there on the battlefield. It ultimately comes back to the leadership. I do not accept that they missed shots. They were careless with the ball. I do not accept that as a reason to have Popovich not be culpable for what took place in that game. In fact, his admission was, I'm not surprised, you're disappointed. Well, yeah, I would ask him to expand on that. What are you not surprised about, and what are you disappointed in? Because to me, as the coach who has a collection of talent to the level that Coach Popovich has, with the coaching resume and DNA that he has and his prowess to be able to get the best out of his players, to pinpoint those few things that you just pinpointed to say that this is the ultimate reason why they lost, I interpret that as that's a lack of being prepared. That's a lack of execution. And when I look at a lack of being prepared or a lack of execution, it still ultimately comes back to the leadership of what the plan was and what the strategy was that needed to be executed within the game, Joy.
Look, if this was a matter of they didn't get good shots or they didn't execute or whatever it might be, then I might agree with you that I'm going to put that on Greg Popovich's plate. But you got Kevin Durant, 2 wide open 3-pointers. The turnovers by Damian Lillard, your starting point guard, were unforced. They had all the opportunities in the world to win this game. And I didn't just give you a few. I gave you a laundry list of things that happened in the final minute of this game.
So there were multiple mess-ups.
Greg Popovich can't.
There were multiple mess-ups. How many times did KD miss?
There were multiple mess-ups by your best players.
How many times did KD miss? How many times did DeRozan turn it over? How many times? How many times? More than one?
Lillard turned it over twice in the last minute.
Okay.
KD missed 2 wide open threes in the last minute.
So maybe he should have been not able to turn it over twice. Maybe he shouldn't have been able to miss it twice. Right. I'm just saying.
You're right.
I'm just saying.
But I'm not going to put that. I'm not going to put that on Greg Popovich.
I am.
This is the problem. This is the problem that I have, Joy, is that I'm hearing on one hand that Greg Popovich should be, that we're running the San Antonio system and that he should be doing something more creative and allow KD to Damian Lillard and his stars to win the game. And they lost this game with the ball in those stars' hands, and they didn't get the job done. So how is it Greg Popovich's fault? If KD hadn't gotten the ball, if it was Keldon Johnson shooting a 3 or Draymond Green shooting a 3, I'd say, you know what? Pop's got to run something better so that you get your best shooters the ball. But his best shooters had the ball, and on one case, Damian Lillard passed up an open 3 and created a turnover by trying to throw it to Zach LaVine. That is not Greg Popovich's fault.
Perhaps if Team USA wasn't 6-3 under Popovich's tenure and they had not already lost to France in 2019 with basically a completely different team, I might blame it on these particular players. But this is becoming a trend under Greg Popovich. Now, do I think that he is not capable of the job? Of course not. Greg Popovich is a legendary, all-time great coach and is perfectly qualified for this situation. But this is a trend. I agree. The players on the court have to execute. But what I think is becoming very obvious with Team USA is that there is no clear leader on the court. Now, whose fault is that? I would also place that at Popovich's feet. We know Popovich is not a big star guy. He's a system guy. He is a culture guy. He is not a elevate someone to run the organization and be the face of the team and all of that. I think that this needs to become KD's team. KD is the most experienced. He is the champion. He is capable of stepping into that space and taking over this Team USA. It's obviously a lot of stars. I don't think that the egos are the situation. I actually think it's the opposite of that. I think that because it's Team USA, perhaps they're falling into a space where they're giving too much to each other. You know, let's have a leader. Let's have a guy, a go-to guy. We know this guy's going to take the last shot. We know this guy's going to have the last word in the huddle. It's going to be KD's Team USA. Maybe that's the issue, but I still put that on Popovich because that has to be the adjustments. Popovich's tenure has not been a really positive one, and he has different players now than he did before when they lost to France as well. So, and I don't like that Popovich is making all these excuses either. And it's not very Popovich-like. The world's getting better. I'm not surprised. I don't like this excuse machine stuff. We have standards. Yes, the rest of the world is better at basketball than it was when the Dream Team first came. All right, we know that. But we still have the best collection of players. We should still be beating these teams. Blowing them out? No. I actually prefer that there is better competition. That's better for us as fans to watch when we're watching the Olympics. But this excuse machine stuff, that's on Popovich. The losing to France, that's also on Popovich. And the fact that we don't feel like this is someone's Team USA, this is someone's Olympics to lead us to victory, I think is also on Popovich because that needs to be said. That needs to be clear. So there are a lot of things, but I'm all pointing back to Pop.
And I mean, just super quick, I know you want to respond to that, Rick, but just super quick to add to that, the role of who the guys should be when they're on the court, it might not just be KD because you do have guys on the team. If KD is on the court, it should be KD that's the guy. If it's somebody else that's on the court and KD isn't out there, it should be that person that is the guy. But it also should be clear what the roles are. Who's going to be the facilitator? You know, because when you're looking at, they looked like they were disjointed. It didn't look like it was just flowing the way that it needed.
They're deferring to a fault.
There you go. Deferring to a fault. Wow.
I don't argue with any of that. I don't argue with any of that, but the composition of the team isn't on Greg Popovich. It would be on Jerry Colangelo, who's the guy who selects who's on the roster. And having Kevin Durant as the guy, as the leader of this team, first of all, Kevin Durant has to pick up that mantle and say, this is what I want to be, and I'm going to be it. And he also has to stay out of foul trouble. I mean, he played only 21 minutes because he was in foul trouble the entire game and ultimately fouled out. And he still got up the most shots. So it's not as if he was deprived of the opportunity of putting his imprint on this game. I do agree when it comes to the composition of the team and having a playmaker, they're short of that. And it's why Drew Holiday comes in after just finishing the finals and was the best player on the floor against France. Played like he was playing in a Game 7 because he's probably the most accomplished playmaker, but he's also just coming off of playing at a very high level and continued to play that way in this game. And again, we often say it, LeVar, and I'm sure you've heard it, like you as well, Joy, you don't coach effort and energy. Like that has to come from your players. And the distinction between the way Drew Holiday played and the way the rest of the team played is an indicator that these guys did not realize the level that they had to play in order to win. It's why I still believe that they're going to be okay, because they just need to raise that level of effort and energy. And then suddenly Greg Popovich will be a genius because they will be playing better defense and they will be turning teams over and they'll be winning again.
The composition is not his fault. And yes, KD has to guard a bigger guy in Rudy Gobert. But listen, they're all NBA players, and there's always a guy on the court. So maybe we just need to adjust back to playing the way that we play in the NBA with the guy on the court and defer to him and make that adjustment and stop trying to play how these international teams play. By the way, shout out to Team USA women's basketball beating Nigeria last night. So Women don't have these problems. Coming up, Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay for now, but we'll tell you if this year will be his last year next on Speak for Yourself.
That's all what you did.
I mean, I gotta keep it real.
Keep it real.
Aaron Rodgers is back in Green Bay, at least for one season, according to reports. The Packers made some concessions to get him back, including if they sign off on their willingness to trade him after next season, he will have the freedom to decide where he wants to play in 2022. Former Packers Greg Jennings is back with us, but LeVar, I have to start with you. Is this going to be Aaron's last season in Green Bay?
No, the only way this ends up being his last season in Green Bay is if Green Bay draws a definitive line in the sand and says, this is it, you're gone. I don't care what the repercussions are. I don't care what the fan base says. I don't care. You're gone. That's the only way this happens. There is no correlation as to how things have been handled with A-Rod that would give me any indicator that somebody has the intestinal fortitude to actually make a decision of that magnitude. You know why? Because your job is connected to that decision. So I'm glad we have Greg Jennings on this segment because he understands it. He played in Green Bay. This is a very different dynamic that plays out in Green Bay because, again, as I said earlier, there will not be an able adversary in that building that can stand up to the juggernaut that A-Rod is.
I hear you, but I fully disagree.
Okay.
This is it. This is the last dance for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I just believe it to be true simply because of when you look about the way he went about everything and now what's come out when it comes to the contract and what's been agreed upon is he gets to dictate the terms moving forward as far as trade talks. Why is that? Why was that so important? Why was that potentially the determining factor? Because he understands that the Green Bay Packers are pretty much already made up in their mind that they're moving on. That they are moving on. And so for Aaron Rodgers now, he's now making his line in the sand. It's not just one way because now he has the opportunity to draw his line in the sand and say, nope, I'm not coming back. So I think that is going to be the approach. He is not going to come back and have to endure. And I don't believe it to be the case whether or not they win or they lose. They could win the Super Bowl, and I believe this will be Aaron Rodgers' last time in the green and gold, and he will wear another uniform following this season. I just believe that to be true.
You are correct, Greg Jennings. This is it. This is the last dance. Enjoy it, Packers fans. He out of here. Otherwise, why would he do all of this? What was the point? He was under contract, so he didn't need to go anywhere. Now, maybe he wanted more money, but then he would have just asked for more money or asked for a different contract or negotiated that. But do that behind closed doors. What's with all the passive-aggressive drama if you want to stay there? He's out of here. Tom Brady has changed the game. Similar to when LeBron James went to Miami, the league is going to be different now. Star quarterbacks are going to say, I've had enough of this situation, even if it's not a necessarily toxic situation. If they are unhappy and they have the leverage to do that, and they have the stardom and the money and the respect, they're going to find a way out. Asking for a trade is not the end of the world anymore. So, LeVar, there's no way. There's lots of ways. One, Aaron could ask out. Now that they have renegotiated this contract and he's essentially done after this year, they're going to have to come to some agreement and come to the table at the end of the year. He could say, I want to trade. They could also not play well. And Jordan Love could look good enough to replace Aaron Rodgers, and then he could want out. And they could want to move on from him and move on to Jordan Love. Someone could come with an insane trade offer, and things are good at the end. Like Greg said, they win a Super Bowl, or they're terrible, or they're just middle of the road, and this trade offer is too good to pass up. There are lots of options now, but that's why they negotiated this deal. One, to get Aaron Rodgers to training camp and remove this dark cloud of drama from the organization, at least temporarily. Two, to get Devontae Adams back to the table, which he is. And three, give Jordan Love another year to develop. They've already said we're cool with moving off of Aaron Rodgers. Otherwise, they wouldn't have traded up in the draft to take Jordan Love and not bother to send Aaron Rodgers a text message before they did it. So they're already in that space. That's why this is all happened. So I think that this is a good compromise for both parties to get Aaron Rodgers to training camp, to get Devontae Adams back to the table, to run it back one more year with a team that's been in back-to-back NFC championship games, but also to appease Aaron Rodgers and not make this an ongoing thing throughout the season where he's disengaged. Now we got one more year. The divorce is imminent after the kid gets to high school, but we're going to run this back and we're going to do our best to get to the end of the road. And when we get there, we've already got our prenup in place, so we don't have to spend so much money on lawyers. That's what's happening in this situation. But I do believe it is absolutely over.
To the end.
Yeah, as with one kid who's just got to college and the other one who's just leaving high school, you keep making that analogy, and it's starting to make me feel uncomfortable.
I'm sorry.
That said, he needs to leave after this season. Otherwise, why did we just go through all of this? He needs to leave for Aaron's sake and for Adam Schefter's sake, who's basically guaranteed that the reason they did all this was in order for him to get out. There's a great hissy fit going on between Mike Florio and Adam Schefter right now. You guys should check it out if you haven't already. But we need to take LeVar. LeVar's box does not deserve to be on the top anymore. You deserve either to be on the bottom or somewhere like far away from our boxes on the screen because... Brother, this is not making it. Thank you very much. Let's just remove it and have all the logical ones here on the screen right now. If you give up a year of your contract, you don't get any more money back. You create a drama that has Green Bay Packers fans feeling some kind of way about you, that you were just a league MVP. They certainly weren't feeling that way about you at the end of last season. Why go through all this drama and controversy if it wasn't about trying to get your way out of Green Bay? And Green Bay has kind of sort of provided this exit ramp, his escape route that he had hoped for. But it's the only thing that you could say that Aaron Rodgers got out of everything that happened during this offseason. So he needs to go for Adam Schefter's sake, for Aaron Rodgers' sake, and honestly, for all of our sake. Because otherwise, we're going to look at this and all the conversation that we had about this over the last few months and go, what the hell was that all about anyway?
Okay, I'm just going to be 100% transparent here.
Please do, because you were
this is how it works in life.
Please.
This is how it works in life. This is not just in sport.
Okay.
When you're hired by an employer, and then there is a tension, there is a feud, and there's someone that's disgruntled, and then you depart ways. And let's say Aaron Rodgers will be gone. I'm saying he's going to be gone. You want the last laugh. You ultimately don't care what you leave the last situation and how they are going to look moving forward. All the signs point to that. He did not want to be the highest paid athlete underneath Lionel Messi, period. Like, he could have took the money. He said, nope, I don't want anything like that. I don't want to renegotiate this contract as far as years anymore. It's not even about that. The most important thing is I get to dictate where you're going to try to trade me, because I know in my head, I'm gone. I'm out, period. And I don't care what you look like any longer. We all have been there. We want to talk about, man, the fan base is great. We want to save face. But the moment we're out the door,
Greg,
we really don't care.
Greg,
we don't care.
Right?
They're going to be upset. He's going to walk off. He's going to be perfectly fine in this new situation. He feels like, I am who I am. I can make it work. We all have been there in any situation in life. If we have some type of pride about what we bring to the table and the value that we afford and provide. That is Aaron Rodgers in this situation. He's betting on him, and he made sure that he would be able to dictate terms when the time comes.
Did you get this information directly from Aaron Rodgers, yes or no?
No, this is direct information from Greg Jennings and experience.
So you're speculating what you believe this to be what Aaron feels, or are you basing it off of an intimate know and knowledge of how you see Aaron Rodgers handling things, how he has handled things when you were with him? Is that what
No,
you're saying?
I'm saying this is all human race. We say we wish you the best.
No, don't
we
give me
do.
Human race. Don't be politically correct in this moment right here.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I said. I said it
in the box.
I said it
Are you
goes
speaking
across
based off
everyone.
of your knowledge of Aaron Rodgers that you believe this to be the truth of how he's going to handle it?
This is the truth of how he's going to handle it.
Okay. Coming up next.
There you go.
Now, I'm not going to fight that. If you was in the locker room with him, I ain't going to fight that. Is DeMar DeRozan on his way home to play for the Lakers? We'll tell you if he'd be a good fit next on Speak For Yourself. I ain't messing with locker room relationships.
Hey, Lawyer LeVar.
Hey, you know what I mean? I just wanted to know.
New Budweiser Summer Patriotic cans are here to give you a red, white, and Bud upgrade. Collect all 3 limited edition designs. New Budweiser Summer Patriotic cans. In stores now.
The Lakers are being seen as a possible landing spot for DeMar DeRozan in a sign and trade deal. This move would bring DeRozan back to his home in L.A. He was on Shannon Sharp's Club Shay Shay podcast recently and said, "You'd love to have the opportunity to play at home." He added, it would work between him, LeBron, and Anthony Davis. So, Rick, would DeMar DeRozan be a good fit with the Lakers? How about you, Joy? Because Rick don't want no more part. I didn't debated him down.
Yes,
Joy. What you
I
think?
do think that DeMar DeRozan would be a good fit with the Lakers. Now, can the Lakers make it work with the money is the question, and is DeMar DeRozan willing to take a significant pay cuts is another question, because he made around $28 million last year. I believe it was $27.7 million last year, and they cannot offer him a lot. So they'd have to offer him around $9 million and obviously do a sign and trade to get him. So there's a lot of moving parts here. But as far as if he's going to fit with the Lakers, yes. LeBron likes playing with veteran, smart players. That's what DeMar DeRozan is. He's been with 2 great cultures in the NBA. He's a 20-point-a-night player. He would fit right in with this Lakers culture and organization. Obviously, he's from LA, so the city is not something you have to adjust to, which is a thing, because LA is not for everybody.
No, it's not.
Just like Miami isn't for everybody, just like New York isn't for everybody, LA is not for everybody. So it is for DeMar DeRozan. I think it would be a good fit with the Lakers. And the Lakers have a lot that they have to do. They don't have a lot of players under contract. So this entire roster is going to look really different next year. LeBron is getting to the point in his career where the championship window is getting slimmer by the day. The Warriors are going to be back full healthy next year. We don't know where Dame is going to end up. The West is already great and is improving health-wise as well. You've got the Jazz coming back again, the Nuggets coming back again at full health. So there's a lot of moving parts on this side of the country, not to mention that you have Giannis and the Bucs on the other side as champions. So I think that DeMar DeRozan would be a great addition for the Lakers. The Lakers' hands are tied in a lot of ways when it comes to the salary cap. So if they can make it work, I do think he'd be a good fit.
Yeah, it's not a bad fit. Is it ideal fit? Does it solve all of their problems? I would say no. But it's the only fit that's reasonable when you have LeBron James and the Lakers for where they are. Because you don't, as much as they're the oldest team in the league and you'd like to get younger, and DeMar DeRozan is on the wrong end of that spectrum, and I would expect that the pieces going back the other way are going to be younger pieces. The fact of the matter is you need veterans to play with LeBron. And while he doesn't answer their issues when it comes to three-point shooting, they were 21st in the league in three-point percentage. They were 23rd in scoring. Offense is where they need help. DeRozan is a 25% three-point shooter and has been the last 2 years. It's not part of his game. He is an underrated playmaker, averaging almost 7 assists a game for San Antonio. They ran a lot of stuff through him, and that's one of the elements that they need. They need to have somebody who can function when they don't have the ball in their hands and when they're able to make some plays. So it's not a bad fit by any means. And would he make them better? Yeah, I could see that he would make them better. But does he automatically make them the best team in the league again and solve all their problems offensively? I can't go quite that far.
You know, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is currently the person that holds that position right now. looking at them pre-AD injury, they're the best team in the NBA. I mean, let's just be clear on that. A healthy Anthony Davis, a healthy LeBron James, it's the best team right now. So to put somebody as an upgrade, I think we would all agree that DeRozan is an upgrade to Pope, and to put somebody who can actually create space, create their own shots, and be able to actually facilitate from the shooting guard position would certainly be a great addition for this Lakers team. LeBron, y'all mentioned it, all right? You got to have vets that are going to play with him. You also have to have savvy guys that understand that fame and fortune that's going to come along with being on this team is something that you have to be super responsible and vigilant over. I think DeRozan is someone who has been around it. We know his history. He's connected to Master P, different things like that. We know about his DNA. And so to look at what he would bring to the table and being able to come back home and play in L.A., it certainly would be a great addition. It'd be a great addition emotionally. It would be a great addition physically on the court for this Lakers team. I have no doubt in my mind that if they bring in a guy of that caliber, if they're able to get DeRozan too, as you mentioned, Joy, take a pay cut of sorts to be able to come here and be a part of this team, the payoff doesn't have to necessarily take place on the basketball court for these athletes these days. It certainly would pay off to be with LeBron James and everything that he's generating off court. You know, AD was just in that hoop movie, you know. Yeah, he was purple and all that good stuff. My kids went to see it. It raked in a whole lot of money, and I'm sure AD might have made, end up making more than what he made playing this year and playing in basketball. So let me say, I don't know.
Did he get hurt in the movie?
But DeRozan should come to the Lakers.
Did he get injured in the movie?
Oh!
Well, look, I wrote this down. You can't count on AD being healthy. So that is a factor when you're talking about what the Lakers are going to do next year. The Lakers pay Anthony Davis and LeBron James a lot of money. They don't have a lot of flexibility. So looking for the perfect match and the perfect setup for the Lakers is not on the table because they don't have a lot of flexibility this year. And look, LeBron James and Anthony Davis deserve the money that they're making, but salary cap league, so you have to fit the pieces in. There's not that many stars available. I think DeMar DeRozan is a great situation for the Lakers when you consider what's actually available to the Lakers and what's available out there. And we didn't play the sounds from DeMar DeRozan, but he talked about he has made a ton of money in his career. He has respect. He has had the experience. Now he wants a championship. He wants an opportunity to win a championship. And even though there are a lot of questions about the Lakers, and Anthony Davis's health is certainly a beyond fair question to have, I do think that with DeMar DeRozan, a healthy Anthony Davis, and LeBron James, who I think will be healthy, they have a great chance to win the West. I understand the West is better, but you need another piece. You need another veteran piece, and this is what DeMar DeRozan brings.
Here's the tricky part, too, is that we're not just adding DeMar DeRozan as a free agent, coming in and adding him to what they had, to LeVar's point, that they were arguably the best team in the NBA when fully healthy. But you have to, I remember that. You have to account for the fact that you're trying to take some things off of LeBron and AD's plate in order to keep them healthy. And DeRozan does a certain amount of that, but Dennis Schroeder is a free agent and presumably is going someplace else.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to send something back the other way to San Antonio. And while everybody's bagging on Kyle Kuzma right now, he's probably going to be part of that. He was young legs coming off the bench. Talen Horton-Tucker is no doubt going to be part of it. So you're going to lose some existing pieces. So it's not a matter of DeMar DeRozan coming in and adding something to what you already had. The question is, does DeMar DeRozan bring enough to the table that he's not only compensating for what you're going to lose, but that he's then adding something on top of that? And when I look at some of the potential pieces that are going out the door, I just don't know that he's going to. He may add some different things. He may add some better things. I don't know that he's going to add more things to what the Lakers are.
That's fair. The Lakers have to be aggressive either way. Coming up, Tom Brady won it all last year without Bill Belichick. We'll tell you if we look at the Patriots dynasty any differently next.
Rings and things.
Tom Brady raised his first Lombardi trophy in Tampa after winning 6 with Bill Belichick in New England. Patriots fan Matt Damon appears to be on Team Brady for the Patriots' success, saying, quote, Belichick's an amazing coach, but I never doubted that it wasn't Brady. He's on the field playing the game. So, LeVar, do you look at Belichick and the Patriots dynasty differently after Brady's Super Bowl win in Tampa Bay?
Joy, Kat said that they made Hove. Made Hove say, okay, so make another Hove.
Make another Hove.
For me, I say no. I do think that he is the GOAT, and I do not see another Tom Brady being made by Bill Belichick by any stretch of the imagination. But he did play a very, very vital part in the development of Tom Brady. So, no, I do not look at their dynasty differently without Bill Belichick and the Bill Belichickian theory and the Patriot way that developed under Bill Belichick. I don't think that Tom Brady becomes the Tom Brady that he is. We were just joking on off air, talking about, us being in the same draft and how that all panned out. I went number 2 in that draft. He went the 6th round. Look, he's got more rings than I did years in the league. But anyways, that's it. The bottom line here is that in college, I played against Tom Brady. That ain't the same dude. Y'all remember Cinderella Man? Like, hey, that ain't the same dude coming out of that corner. Like, Tom Brady became a different person when he went to New England. I attribute that to guys like Ty Law, Willie McGinnis, Lawyer Malloy, Troy Brown, Dave Patton. There are so many different guys that played a part in what that Chris Slade, like, there are so many guys there. Well, maybe not Chris Slade, but there were so many guys there that were leaders when Tom Brady got there. Drew Bledsoe himself, like, Drew is a dope quarterback. The leadership, the guidance, the development, the environment. If you're in an environment that's conducive to success, you're going to breed success. Tom Brady just needed that belief system. He needed that development. He needed that time, and he got it. And you can't take that away. You can't diminish it. You can't undervalue it. So, no, I don't look at the franchise as saying I need to take a side. It validates that Tom Brady can throw some swag at you and drop some drip on you in terms of what he represents. He is the Jay-Z in football, maybe even in sports. But the idea of thinking that he's that without Bill Belichick, if he came with me to Washington, D.C., he'd be doing media just like me today. If he went somewhere like Cleveland or Cincinnati, he'd be doing something vastly different than what he's doing today. So, no, I do not discredit the value that Bill Belichick brought to the situation with Tom Brady.
I agree. I don't discredit Bill Belichick because Tom Brady went on and played for a loaded Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that didn't even have the best record in their division and then ultimately got better as the season went on and won the Super Bowl. Good on Tom Brady for demonstrating that. But the idea that somehow Tom Brady demonstrated that he is a Super Bowl champion and Bill Belichick was riding his coattails all these years in New England, I mean, we're always going to have this debate of who was more important. But I think it's safe to say that both of them were vital to the success. And I'd say that even looking at the Patriots this past season, their 7-9 record quietly impressed me about Bill Belichick and what he was able to do to keep that team competitive, because it wasn't just Tom Brady that left. They lost a whole host of key parts to that team and were practically in full rebuild mode. So the idea that somehow this is proof, what happened last year is proof that Tom Brady is a Super Bowl winner and Bill Belichick simply benefited off of that. I don't even know that last year, if we take a close look at how Tampa Bay did it and what Bill Belichick did as a coach with what he was left holding in New England, gives any indication that Bill Belichick is somehow wanting as a coach, or that Tom Brady was, without question, the superior piece that made the difference in Tampa Bay winning the Super Bowl.
Uh-oh.
Rick, when we were talking about Team USA, you took all the blame off Popovich and put it on the players who were on the court, right?
Yeah.
The question isn't, is Bill Belichick a buster and Tom Brady dragged him to all these Super Bowls? It's, do you look at it differently? And yes, you have to look at the Patriots dynasty a little bit differently currently right now. Now, the story's still being written, right? Belichick could go on to win 2, 3, 4 more Super Bowls. I don't think that he will, but who knows? Say he does, then we're going to have a different conversation at that point probably. But right now, currently, as we sit today, Tom Brady won this divorce, and he is he gets a little bit more credit for that dynasty than Bill Belichick does. Tom Brady doesn't play both sides of the ball. He doesn't play defense. He didn't put together that defense. He didn't create the culture of New England, but he sure did represent it. He sure did follow along. He sure did take pay cuts to make all that work. He sure did carry that mantra throughout the building and establish that culture that Bill Belichick wanted for years and years. He was a company man, and then he left and did it somewhere that missed the playoffs 12 seasons in a row, had major influence over the roster, brought in guys like Antonio Brown and Gronkowski, had influence over the culture of that organization, and then they won a Super Bowl without winning the division. Yeah, you got to give Tom Brady a little bit more credit for that Patriots dynasty right now.
That's fair.
Not all of it, but just
right.
the scale is a little bit in Brady's favor.
I'll give you that. I was shortchanging Brady and the influence that he had. I was thinking purely as a player, but you make a great point. There were a lot of guys who wanted to play with Tom Brady in Tampa Bay that changed the dynamic of that team. So I will give you that. The question that I have for you is, and for LeVar, is does Bill Belichick have to win another Super Bowl without Tom Brady to prove that he had as equal a hand in winning Super Bowls as Tom Brady? I'm not sure
Did you see that Super Bowl
fair,
ring? That Super
but I'm
Bowl
curious.
ring is as big as my fist, just like this.
And you can take the top off.
Yes.
And it shows the stadium.
And then it has a stadium on the inside of it.
And you can store stuff inside that stadium. Make it snow inside that thing. Oh, wait.
He definitely does have to win. I believe that when it comes down to legacies, and we're talking about the greatest dynasty maybe in all of sports, if Brady went to the Super Bowl and didn't win it, then no. But I think him winning the Super Bowl the year
after
he leaves.
The year after.
To a team like Tampa that was habitually bad and underachieving.
But they were loaded. Come on. I mean,
they were
they loaded?
Talented team.
I was on some loaded teams
to go win a Super Bowl.
I was on some loaded teams that did not make no Super Bowls.
They didn't make the playoffs the year before. They won the Super Bowl as a wild card team.
Speaking of wild card, let's go out to the wild NFC West. We'll tell you who will win the division next on Speak for Yourself. Dang, boy, that was
The NFC West seems to be wide open this season. The Rams have to go without running back Cam Akers. Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll are playing nice in Seattle. Jimmy G will try to keep Trey Lance on the bench. And in Arizona, defensive end Chandler Jones requested a trade. So, Joy, I have to ask, who will win the ultra-competitive NFC West?
I believe it's the Seahawks. I like the Seahawks this season a lot. I like the situation that they are in going into training camp. I like how they handled the early offseason drama with Russell Wilson and the front office and Pete Carroll. I like the moves that they made this offseason. And I like them because all of those things you just mentioned about the other teams in this very competitive division. No, San Francisco is not going to have all the injuries that they had last year. It was ridiculous. But you can't trust Jimmy G is going to be healthy for an entire season, and there's another game this season. So do you really feel like you're going to have Jimmy G the entire season? I don't. There's nothing in his career has pointed to that, and their backup is now a rookie who hasn't played football in 2 years. Now, I like Trey Lance as a future of the organization, but we're talking about this year. If he has to get out there, it could be troublesome for them because he's not been on the field in 2 years. Matthew Stafford, I think, is an upgrade for the Rams, but they just lost Cam Akers. Matthew Stafford is coming into a new organization and a new system, so that could be rusty. They've lost a lot of pieces there. And while I really do like the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, and I think they're not getting enough attention for what they did last year, losing a lot of really close games, I think they'll be better this year. There's still a lot of questions there. Is that the right coach for that team? And you mentioned Chandler Jones. They did make some additions, but Arizona still feels like they're a year away. I think the Seahawks are in the most stable place coming into the season. They have a Super Bowl winning coach. They have a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I like Russell Wilson a lot. I think that the Seahawks are in the best position to win this very difficult division.
They also have a Super Bowl winning beef, too. You know what I mean? And whether we want to act like that's just not what happened this offseason, it did. You can't act like it didn't happen, Joy Taylor.
I didn't. It did happen. I think they solved it.
It's not solved.
Why?
I don't know, but it's just not. And I don't think that we're done hearing about it because it's going to rear its ugly face at some point in time during this season. You know why? Because Russ got his way. And if Russ has to cook again, not only am I not putting them at the number 1 spot to win the division, I'd put them at the number 3 spot. I'd give you 2 teams that are going to be ahead of them. It's going to be the Rams that win it, and it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers that come in a close second. It's going to be a 2-team race. Here's what I'm going to tell you. The 49ers will bounce back. And people are looking at the Rams as being a wounded team that can't get it done without having a potent running attack. You lose 2 of your running backs, you don't know how you're going to fill that spot. That's overstated. If you understand this game, you'll also understand that you can get a formidable running back to be able to do what they need to do in a Mike Shanahan running zone system, a zone read system. You look at the history of Mike Shanahan, he had 1,000-yard rushers by the droves, not because they were dope running backs every single time, but because the scheme worked in favor for that downhill read running game. Yeah, they need to replace a lineman at the center's position. I've heard all of the critics and critiques of what this team can be and what it can't be. They are the best structured team, and you're going to see why Matthew Stafford has been spoken about in such glowing terms during the course of his career. Of course, you're going to struggle in Detroit. Ask anybody, all right?
That's fair.
This is one of those situations where we just talked last segment about Tom Brady. Let Tom Brady end up in Detroit. Where are we at right now talking about Tom Brady? Matthew Stafford has an amazing opportunity to create a reprieve for his career, and I think he does that. You got guys like Cooper Kupp. You got Woods. You got weapons on this team. And not to mention, you have the ability to lean on your defense, and so does this 49ers team. But in terms of the coaching, I'm going with McVay over Shanahan and the 49ers, just for the simple fact that I don't trust the Garoppolo scenario. Not because I don't like Garoppolo, because I don't think I like the way that he's been abused in the media, and they've allowed it to happen this offseason with him and Shanahan being a part of it. That, by default, takes them out of the running for being the team that's going to win it. And the same thing exists with the Seattle Seahawks and the little brother, the Arizona Cardinals. They'll be good. They'll be competitive. But when it comes to it, they're not going to be able to do it.
Joey, I'm just trying to figure out where the LeVar in the first hour, the LeVar who said that there's no ceiling for the Seattle Seahawks, went and was replaced by this guy now who finds everything wrong with the Seahawks because of the offseason turmoil between Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. I'm just trying to figure out where that guy went.
Russ has to know his ceiling. I said that. Russ has to know his ceiling.
That they could win this. You said they could win the Super Bowl,
if
and
Russ
now you
knows
think
his
they can't
ceiling.
win the division. So I'm a little bit confused, okay? But the answer for both of you is the 49ers, because the only thing that held them back last year were the injuries. Without injuries, they're considered the best team in a very tough division. And I'm not buying that there's going to be some sort of quarterback controversy. Joe, you make a fair point about an extra game and the health of Garoppolo, but that's why they have Trey Lance there. And it's clear that Kyle Shanahan has a ton of confidence that he's going to be able to get the job done. Maybe not out of week 1, week 2. They just need Jimmy to stay healthy for a little bit to get Trey acclimated to what they need him to do. But ultimately, 49ers, when they have quarterback controversies, when they have quarterback competition, that's generally when they go to Super Bowl. Steve Young, Joe Montana, Colin Kaepernick, Alex Smith. So I'm saying, the harbinger's there.
All right. If I have money, I'm going to put it on Seattle at plus 275 and not on Jimmy Garoppolo staying healthy for an entire season. I think that's a better bet. Coming up, Team USA is trying to get in the win column. We'll tell you if they can do it and still win the gold next. Team USA lost their Olympic opener against France, snapping a 25-game winning streak. They'll try to bounce back tonight against Iran. So, Rick, how confident are you that Team USA still wins the gold?
I am confident. I wouldn't say I'm very confident, but I am confident. For the whole list that I gave you, the laundry list of things that had to go wrong for Team USA to lose against France, I don't expect that laundry list to happen again. KD will shoot better, Dame Lillard will take care of the ball, and Bam Adebayo will make his layups.
I'm supremely confident, Joy. Supremely. Embarrassment sometimes is the best motivation. They'll be just fine. And I feel bad for Iran because they're going to have to feel the embarrassment get back.
Yeah, I am a soft confidence. I'm going to remain hopeful because we have the most talented team. I do agree with you, LeVar. The embarrassment factor, the pride factor will kick in. And I do think that they will still win the gold, but I do think this will change things for Team USA moving forward. That's it for us. We'll see you tomorrow and speak for yourself.